Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. As some of you may know, I'm on my TTC or trying to conceive journey. In this video, I'm going to be talking about some things you should consider if you're thinking about getting pregnant or trying to conceive. First things first is definitely going to be finances. This was a huge one for my husband and I. If you just think about the cost of not only having a baby, the birth aspect, but for years after. I wanted to share some stats with you just from some research I did. I'm a huge researcher by nature, so I was really curious to know average birth costs with insurance and what we would be looking at spending. So it was interesting to find that in the US, the average cost to have a natural childbirth is going to be $4,500, and that is with insurance. So you're looking at quite a big expense just to bring a baby into this world. The other aspect of finance is to think about childcare. Now, when I did research, 44% of families had one spouse that ended up staying home with a baby. So that means you could either be looking at sacrificing the mom or the dad's entire income for childcare or paying for childcare if you guys are both considering going back to work. Now, the average cost of childcare in the US was $15,000 a year per child. So that's quite a big expenditure to think about. And according to the US government, the government defines affordable as spending 7% or less of your income. So if you're considering childcare, think about how much $15,000 is going to be, or see the average cost in your area and how big of a percentage of your income that's going to take up.
Now, the second thing to consider,
Your lifestyle. How is that going to change? How are you going to be able to make sacrifices in your schedule and potentially not be able to do the things that you love to do anymore, like your hobbies, hanging out with your friends and family, and just losing that leisurely time altogether? I know for me, when we decided that we were going to start trying to have a kid, I thought to myself, am I willing to sacrifice my hobbies 100%? And ultimately, the answer had to be yes. And when it finally was yes, that's kind of when I knew that I was ready. Not to say that I'm not going to have a life at all afterwards, but I'm hoping for the best, planning for the worst. You never know if your child's going to have any sort of special needs or, what might be to come. The other thing that I think is really important, and this was kind of an easy one for me, is the relationship with your spouse. If you already have a relationship where you guys are fighting a lot and you disagree on a lot of things, bringing a child into this world is not going to fix your relationship. Fortunately for me, my husband and I have a really strong relationship, which is why him and I both were kind of scared to start trying to have a baby, because I know how many different obstacles that can bring into a relationship. When I did some research online, I was a little discouraged to find that research shows that couples argue 40% more after having their first child. Lastly, the big thing that pushed me over the edge to want to start having kids now at age 31 going on 32 is just timeline. As I started doing more research online, I found that the difficulty to even have a kid after 35, your fertility drastically decreases. Even after the age of 30, your fertility level starts to decline. And after 35, it just drastically declines. Also, the risk of having a child with a defect goes up at different age increments. Specifically, if you just look at Down syndrome alone, there's a 1 in 84% chance that your child will have Down syndrome if you have a kid after the age of 40. So when I was looking at these timelines and seeing that, a geriatric pregnancy is technically considered 35 or older, and I'm already going on 32, I was thinking about, wonder if we want multiple kids, like how is this timeline going to play out? And so that was a big one as well for me. Obviously, there are a bunch of other things to consider, but those were my top 4 things that I wanted to talk with you guys about today. If you have anything that you feel is really important to consider when having a baby, leave them in the comments below, and we'll see you on the next video.